I'm going to tell you the story of a man who didn't want to settle for just another good result. No, he wanted to win. A man who refused to play it safe, turning his back on the meta, neglecting the strategies that everyone else relied on. Instead, putting his faith in a pile of 60 cards that no one else dared to touch. A man who, when faced with the choice between a guaranteed cash placement or a slim chance at winning it all, would gamble on greatness every single time. By the way, he also had a sick mustache. This is the story of my run at this year's Brisbane Regional Championships. You're probably wondering why take the risk of an off-meta deck if I'm so confident that I could easily land a top 32 finish with a tier 1 option like Dragapult. It's simple, I'm not entering the tournament to achieve yet another good result. All I care about is taking home the gold. Maybe on average I would do better with Dragapult, but to actually win, you have to set yourself apart. 2 years ago at a different Brisbane Regionals, I was able to take down the entire tournament using a rogue strategy that directly targeted only the best decks in the room. That was the kind of magic that I was looking to recreate this year. So how is it a gamble if my deck counters all of the top strategies? Wouldn't I just always win? Here's the thing, off-meta decks are risky. If you don't perfectly predict the meta, you're in trouble. And if you want to win, your strategy has to be bulletproof. Not just against random players who don't know what you're doing, but against the sharpest minds in the game. And trust me, despite only having 470 entrants, this tournament was stacked with some of the best players in the world. Top Australian talent like 2019 world champion Henry Brand, as well as Brent Tonneson and Natalie Miller, who each placed second at the last 2 international tournaments. Invading Americans like Gabe Smart and Rahul Reddy, plus a host of top Japanese players including Keito Arai, Reiji Nishiguchi, and the most recent international champion Ryuki Okada. No matter how strong my deck was, this tournament was going to be tough. But how broken was my deck? Roaring Moon with Powerglass Radiant Greninja, a concept first discovered by my good mate Loster. We've actually both had success with each other's decks in the past. He placed top 16 at the Joinville Regionals with my Darkrai Dusknoir Cook, and I ran his Roaring Moon to Dunsparce list all the way to top 8 at last year's Perth Regionals. There are 3 key cards in this deck that make everything come together. Radiant Greninja. Its concealed cards ability allows you to discard an energy and draw 2 cards once per turn. This is great for consistency, but more importantly, it has the Moonlight Shuriken attack. This is what truly makes Greninja worth building an entire deck around, dealing 90 damage to any 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, at the cost of discarding 2 energy off of Greninja. But how can we power up Greninja in a deck like this? Enter Powerglass, a tool card that unlocks the entire strategy. The effect reads, at the end of your turn, after you attack, if the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot, you may attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to it. What this means is that on turn 1, when you go first, you can attach 2 energy to Greninja, 1 from your hand and 1 from Powerglass. Then on turn 2, you're ready to go. Just attach a 3rd energy from hand and KO a couple of their little fellas before they even get a chance to evolve. With Powerglass still in play, Greninja's Water Shuriken will effectively only discard a single energy. This combo is devastating for the current top 2 meta decks, Dragapult and Gardevoir. Lastly, the perfect complementary attacker to Greninja, Roaring Moon EX. Calamity Storm is a fine attack, dealing 220 damage if a stadium is discarded from play. But the real highlight of the card is Frenzied Gouging. The first line of the attack reads knock out your opponent's active Pokemon. It is literally a delete button. The cost of 200 self-damage barely matters, especially since you would have just KO'd their biggest threat. This synergizes perfectly with Greninja, allowing you to deal with both small evolving basic Pokemon as well as any big guys that get in your way. Just about every other card in the deck is streamlined to focus on enabling exactly these 2 attackers. But this wasn't an airtight strategy. A single Manaphy with the water availability could completely derail my plan. By blocking any damage done to benched Pokemon, Greninja's Water Shuriken would be rendered almost useless. But I'd been keeping a close eye on its inclusion in recent lists. At the Stockholm Regionals, which occurred a week prior, out of 23 Dragapult decks in day 2, Manaphy only popped up in a single one. And while it did appear in 42% of Gardevoir decks, it was notably absent from the winning 60 piloted by Isaiah Bradner. So I felt confident that none of the other top players would opt to include it. Unfortunately, this spicy strategy does have a really tough time into the 3rd and 4th most popular decks. Miraidon EX and Lugia V-Star. However, like I said, sometimes you just have to take these risks if you want to win it all. By the time I was on my flight to Brisbane, I was already 100% locked in on playing this Roaring Moon pile. I met up with the fellas for some Friday night testing, and that's when a couple of last minute changes came into play. I swapped out Iron Bundle for a third Boss's Orders to give me better odds into Klefki, which is one of the few options that Gardevoir has in the matchup. I opted for Bravery Charm rather than Ancient Booster Energy Capsule to allow my support Pokemon to potentially tank hits in the Miraidon matchup. And I'm also the only person who's ever been brave enough to play a list like this with only 2 Roaring Moon EX, because I'm just that confident in Greninja. I didn't even have time to actually test these changes, it was all theory, but just watch, they make all the difference. After another one of my classic sleepless nights before a tournament, it was Saturday morning. I walked into the venue feeling different than I usually would for a major tournament. A sense of peace. I wasn't sweating it out with a top tier deck. I was playing a really fun anti-meta option, a gamble. The risk was huge and the odds were stacked against me. There was a very real chance that I completely bomb out and just lose the first 3 rounds of the tournament, but I was okay with that because I knew that there was a world where I could go all the way. I sat down for round 1 and won the coin flip, getting to go first. Good start, right? I drew my opening hand and then my heart sank. The cards in front of me were completely unplayable. 5 energy and a Night Stretcher, and that active Pokemon, Latias EX. Useless. I just had to sit there staring at that hand for what felt like an eternity while the endless announcements droned on in the background. Even staring at it now, I'm sure you can feel at least a fraction of my despair. The fate of my tournament entirely in the hands of whichever card was sitting on top of my deck. I draw Koraidon. Nothing. My opponent sets up a solid Regidrago board. I was already on the back foot and I only had one more chance. I draw for turn, Water Energy. I lose game 1. You have no idea how absolutely devastated I felt in that moment. But I still have 2 more games to work with. In the second, I choose to go first. Again, things go as expected and I'm able to power up back-to-back Roaring Moons, winning the game easily. However, in game 3, disaster strikes again and I'm faced with yet another terrible hand. I have to immediately use Squawkabilly EX and discard both of my Forest Seal Stones in a desperate attempt to even have a chance at playing the game. I'm just barely able to piece together an attack, but somehow I haven't seen a single Stadium or Secret Box in the top half of my deck for Calamity Storm. This means that I'm forced to use Frenzied Gouging on a Teal Mask Ogerpon, leaving my Roaring Moon EX with just 30 HP. My opponent has the perfect answer, immediately powering up Regidrago V-Star and taking 4 prizes in response. At this point, the game is basically over. The set is over. I'm forced to start the tournament with a loss. I've been in this same situation more times than I'd like to admit. I know that I can come back from this. I've done it so many times before. You have to accept that some games are out of your control and just aren't winnable, but it doesn't make it sting any less. It's like a punch to the gut. And on top of all that, starting off with a loss is going to make this tournament incredibly difficult to win. I feel absolutely terrible, but I have to keep going. I've got a bit of time before round 2 starts, so I step outside and try to refocus for my next match. When I sit down for round 2, I win the coin flip, so I get to go first. Great. Then I draw an absolutely cracked hand, even better. I've got Secret Box, Nest Ball, and Earthen Vessel, plus they flip over a Charcadet. Perfect. This matchup is insanely free if I can pull off the Greninja combo on my second turn. Since I'll not only be off to a 2-prize lead, I'll also likely be wiping all of their potential attackers. Greninja's prize, that's annoying, but luckily I've got Secret Box in hand to search out Hisuian Heavy Ball. The Heavy Ball is also prized. The odds of this happening? A bit less than 1 in 100, it's actually ridiculous. What was supposed to be a near guaranteed win has immediately pivoted into a seriously stressful situation. I still managed to make use of Power Glass though, attaching it to Roaring Moon EX to accelerate an additional energy. And since Ceruledge can't make a meaningful attack on turn 1, I can just prepare to play Boss's Orders on my next turn and take the first 2 prizes anyway. Luckily, I am able to pull this off, and from here it's just a 2-2-2 prize race that I easily win. In game 2, they opt to go first, and I open with a Koraidon. I can't even attach an energy from hand and literally have to bench Petron EX to avoid immediately losing. But they decide to go for Badoo, trying to capitalize on my awful setup and ensure that they have an unbeatable board before before starting the prize race. And they also play down a Pokestop. No downside to this, right? I mean, sure, I can get some items to hand, but I won't be able to play any of them because of Badoo's Itchy Pollen. Well, actually, this is my one out to getting into this game. I ripped the stop and managed to bin an energy, which allows me to use the previously unplayable Professor Sada's Vitality that was stuck in my hand, drawing me into another energy, which lets me attack for 30 with Koraidon's Unrelenting Onslaught, getting rid of Badoo. Now that I'm up 5 to 6 in prizes, if they can't immediately find Gusting on the next turn, they won't be able to keep up in the prize race. And since I'm on odd prizes, I won't be susceptible to any potential comeback plays with Briar. I close out the set with a 2-0 despite some insane prizing and a borderline unplayable start in game 2. Those games really had me sweating, and it seriously felt like I was fighting against my own deck for the majority of the set. I'm growing less and less confident in the deck's potential with each passing game. In my testing, one of the things that I loved about the deck was just how consistent it felt. I could almost always set up whatever play I needed, but now nothing was working. But hey, a win's a win, and next round is looking good. I hit a Charizard Dragapult player, and even though they won the flip, as I expected, they blinded second, having no idea what I've got cooking up. And I have yet another really solid hand, with something like Forest Sealstone, a Bull Search, and a Squawkabilly in the active. I should almost definitely be able to get the Greninja Power Glass combo, which is practically game-winning in a matchup like this. Ideally, I want to rip Squawk and Seize before searching anything else out with the Forest Sealstone. But there is one issue. I've already got a Power Glass in hand. So when I search my deck, the first thing I check is if the other one is prized. If it is, I'll have to grab Greninja right now and attach it before squawking. Okay, good. It's not prized. Now let me just go check what is. I swear on the hopes and dreams of this channel, Greninja and Heavy Ball were both prized again. I ended up salvaging my opener and was able to attack with a 1 prize Pokemon on my next turn, but they hit the turn 2 countercatcher Rare Candy Charizard to take the first 2 prizes. Things dragged on from here, but in the end, I just barely wasn't able to close it out. I had a bigger issue than losing game 1 though. The clock was ticking. Now, I'm not that fast of a player myself, but it was my opponent's first regionals, and no shade to them, but let's just say it was showing. At the end of game 1, I basically explained to them that all they need to do is show me Rare Candy and Charizard EX, and we can move on to game 2. They don't need to go through all the other motions. When we finally did start game 2, I got to go first again, and while it was a bit of a struggle, I did manage to reach the combo and get off a turn 2 Moonlight Shuriken, and then a turn 3 Moonlight Shuriken, and then a turn 4 Moonlight Shuriken. I've taken 5 prizes and my opponent has done just about nothing. But I guess they just didn't see that turn 5 Moonlight Shuriken for game coming because they refused to scoop it up and start game 3 earlier. Because of this, we only had about 8 or 9 minutes to play out the final game. It was still definitely possible for one of us to win though, and maybe not quite understanding what my deck could do, they opted to go second for a 3rd game in a row. I raw opened Greninja in the active, plus I had a Town Store, Forest Sealstone, and an Ultra Ball. But I'm so pressured by the lack of time that I'm not able to do a full deck search. I just make sure that I've got Power Glass and Rotom V, then immediately grab them both out. I attach a Power Glass to Greninja and flip my V-Star for Earthen Vessel, confidently slamming it down. And 2 out of 3 of my Water Energy are prized. Let's check the odds on that. About 2%. I've already fully committed to all of these actions, but it's incredibly frustrating since if we just had a little bit more time, I could have set up a really strong position. Instead, I've invested everything into a Greninja that can't even attack. The clock ticks on, and despite playing as fast as I can to avoid a tie, that's exactly what we end up with. And honestly, this felt even worse than losing my first round. I'm now sitting at a record of 1 win, 1 loss, 1 tie, and all I care about is winning this tournament. If I want to make it into Top Cut, I literally cannot lose or tie for the next 7 consecutive Swiss rounds, and that's just to make it to Top Cut. Being put into a position where you have to win out so early into the tournament is a ridiculous ask. As someone who has gone 8-0-1 in day 1 of a tournament, I can confidently say that is a way more comfortable position to be in. But you know what? I think I can do it. I don't remember the last time I truly bombed out of a tournament, and I'm not going to start now. I'm going to lock in. In round 4, I face a Gholdengo. Game 1, I pull off the Greninja combo without even needing Town Store. This keeps them from finding their TM evolution, and I'm able to easily run them out of attackers. In game 2, I take the first KO with a single prizer, but they manage to respond with boss's orders for 2 prizes to take the lead. However, playing a Gusting supporter this early really weakens their setup. I'm able to capitalize by gouging their only Gholdengo EX, causing them to miss the next attack, and I subsequently snowball the rest of the game. A nice quick 2-0. In round 5, I'm against a Lost Box. I'm really going to miss this deck when it rotates. I win the flip and easily get off a turn 2 Greninja on a couple of Comfeys. They can't respond and I just take another prize with Greninja. At this point, I am too far ahead to lose. In game 2, they get to go first, but have a slow start. I'm able to get rid of their only Comfey with a Baby Roaring Moon and then just chain attacks from there, wrapping up the set with another clean 2-0. Next, I'm paired into Miraidon, definitely one of the tougher matchups, but I'm able to go first and present a board with Baby Roaring Moon in the active and a bench of Rotom V and Radiant Greninja. I would have preferred a Miraidon here, but this still works. They have no way to take 2 prizes on my active Baby Roaring Moon thanks to its beefy 140 HP, and they aren't playing the Prime Catcher build either, so realistically their only way to gust on turn 1 is through Iron Bundle. Fortunately for me, they're forced to commit energy off of an electric generator before seeing more cards off of Squawk and Seize. If they attach them to Iron Hands, then I'll just promote Rotom if they bundle and they won't be able to take a prize. If they preemptively commit the energy onto Miraidon, then I'll be able to shove up Greninja, only giving up a single prize and allowing me to take a lead on the next turn. This defensive setup enables me to take a clean 2-2-2 line, easily winning game 1. I guess they hadn't practiced the matchup that much because in game 2 they stuck with second and I just did it again. Penultimate round of the day and I'm up against a Gardevoir. This is a great matchup when they don't know what I'm playing. Even though I lost the coin flip, they still opted to go second, meaning that I most likely dodge Klefki and I can set up a Greninja to spawn camp their Ralts and Curliers. And then they open with Manaphy, the one tech card that I was banking on no one playing. But hey, silver lining, at least they opened with it, so I've immediately got the information and know not to go all in on Greninja. Instead, I switch gears and focus on using Power Glass to quickly set up multiple attackers, taking the pressure off of Professor Sada's Vitality for energy acceleration. This allows me to set up an even stronger board and eventually gust up a Gardevoir EX to go down to just a single prize while they still need to take 4. This is essentially checkmate and I close things out with Petron EX's Irritated Outburst. They opt to go second again and game 2 goes even better for me. Since I'm not going for the Greninja line, I don't need to put down Town Store on turn 1, denying them access to an easy TM evolution. Instead, they opt to go for Buddy Buddy Poffin, searching out 1 Ralts and 1 Badoo, praying that I won't have the boss's orders. But of course, thanks to that last minute change where I cut Iron Bundle for another boss's orders, I managed to find it even under item lock, deleting their only Ralts. Next turn, they bench another lone Ralts, and with Forest Sealstone for a second boss's orders, I'm able to get way too far ahead in prizes for them to even have a chance, securing yet another 2-0 dub. Since I decided to lock in, that's 8 back-to-back game wins. Suddenly, I'm at 5-1-1 and already qualified for day 2, right back at the top tables where I belong. But the job's not done yet. Like I said before, if I want to make it into top cut, I've still got 1 more round today, plus another 2 tomorrow. And I'm not allowed to lose or tie any of them. It was time for my biggest hurdle yet. Natalie Miller, one of the best players in Australia. She was running it back on the same deck that took her all the way to second place at the European International Championships just the other month. Plus, she knew exactly what I was playing and made sure to pick first after she won the coin flip. Despite going second, I still went for the Greninja combo since the way my hand turned out, it seemed like the best option. I do manage to get it off, but she already has such a developed board and easily pieces together a Dragapult attack and response. However, this has taken a massive toll on her resources. The game ends up coming down to me being able to use Frenzied Gouging to remove her only attacker, at the cost of leaving my Roaring Moon with just 30 HP remaining. This would open up the possibility of losing to Radiant Alakazam plus Professor Turo's Scenario to reuse Painful Spoons, moving 30 damage off of one of my other damaged Pokemon onto Roaring Moon. Her hand is massive and I'm sure she can find it, so my only option is to dig through as much of my deck as possible in hopes of finding Emergency Jelly. This would preemptively heal my Roaring Moon and should be enough to lock up the game, but I whiff and have to pray that she somehow doesn't have it. After I announce my attack, she swiftly drops the combo on the table and I immediately pick up my cards. After 4 incredibly smooth rounds, my streak of 2-0s is over, but I'm not out of it yet. Sure, my back's against the wall and I need to win consecutive games facing one of the best players in the world if I want to even have a chance at staying alive in this tournament. But I can do that. It's my turn to go first and I easily piece together the combo. I'm able to quickly take a lead, but a single rare candy Dragapult keeps her in the game. I can deal with it thanks to Frenzied Gouging, but it's not a great position. Fortunately, she's prized her second rare candy and I'm able to win, taking it to a game 3. Once again, I'm going second and have a hand where the best player is just committing to Radiant Greninja. She makes some interesting choices on her first turn, ending with an instant charge up to 8 cards. I've got the read that there is some real good stuff in there, and I'm absolutely terrified of a turn 2 rare candy play. So when I drop down my secret box, I make sure to search out Iono. It's nice that I get to see a few fresh cards, but I am really banking on her new, smaller hand being a lot worse. A rare candy into either Dragapult or Dusknoir would be absolutely game-ending. But she doesn't have it, and I get off back-to-back Water Shurikens to take a 4-prize lead, and that's the game! By far the most stressful set that I've played all day, and against such an insanely good opponent. But my deck held strong, I managed to clutch it out, keep my dreams alive, and enter day 2 with a record of 6-1-1. From the starting 470 players, only 82 of them made it through to day 2. And of them, only 27 had a record of 6-2 or better and a realistic chance at making top cut. Despite my abysmal start, I was now so close to making it. Going in at 15th seed, I would need just 2 more wins to secure a spot in the final bracket. After finally getting out of the venue, I met up with a few mates, absolutely demolished a grilled burger, and tried my best to get some sleep. It didn't work, and I woke up at 3 AM. I just couldn't stop thinking of funny bits to do if I won the tournament. This was one of them. After a few more hours of doing absolutely anything but sleep, I made it to the venue just caffeinated enough to survive 2 more rounds. The first one of the day was against a Gholdengo EX. I'd practiced this matchup more than enough and had a really solid line. Plus, they were blinding first into me, which is definitely wrong if you're playing TM Evo. Both games, I managed to get the first KO with a 1-prize Pokemon, and both times they didn't have an immediate boss to take to in response. All I need to do from here is keep chaining attackers and it's an easy win. A perfect confidence booster to start the day. But now it was time for the final round of Swiss, the winner near. The winner will progress to the final bracket and the loser will be stuck with just a top 32 placement. I mean, $1,000 in cash isn't bad, but I've got my eyes set on that champion playmat. As the pairings come up, I'm met with a terrible mixture of relief and sadness. I've managed to pair a decent matchup, Gardevoir, but it's my good mate Angus. One of us is about to be eliminated from the tournament. I think this is the 4th time that we've paired at major events in the last year. I haven't lost to him yet, and I really don't plan on breaking that streak now. He wins the flip, and obviously knowing what I'm playing, opts to go first. But he has a pretty weak start, going all in for Klefki with just a single Ralts on the bench, praying that that mischievous lock sticks. I've got Boss's orders in hand to gust up the Ralts, disabling the lock and getting the KO with Baby Roaring Moon. But this took a lot of resources from my side, so I played out a Pokestop to see some extra cards for next turn. This was maybe the biggest mistake that I made throughout the entire tournament. Angus had absolutely nothing going on, and I just handed him a gateway right back into this game. All he can do is spin the stop. Psychic Energy, Buddy Buddy Poffin, Secret Box. Suddenly, this completely worthless board now has a Ralts and 2 Curlier thanks to TM Evo. And I've been Iono'd into 5 not so great cards. I try to keep in the game, but with such a strong board established so early, it's difficult. It comes down to him playing Professor Turo's scenario on Gardevoir EX and challenging me with a 1-prize board state when prizes are at 2-2. My only hope is that I can Iono that Gardevoir EX to the bottom of his very thin deck and pray that he's unable to find it. But with 2 Curlier in play, that's a big ask. He immediately draws into Professor's Research, which is enough to guarantee that he'll see the entire deck and win game 1. That was absolutely my game to lose, and I managed to throw it by playing down that Pokestop, getting punished by the one card that could bring him back into that game. But I can't dwell on my mistakes. What's done is done, and all I can do is make sure that I don't make another. I need to play perfectly. In game 2, it's my turn to go first, meticulously sequencing my cards to achieve the best chance at pulling off the combo. It pays off, and after back-to-back Moonlight Shurikens, Angus scoops it up, ensuring that we have enough time for a full game 3. Once again, I'm starting things off under Klefki Lock, but this time he has more than a single Ralts, and I don't have Boss's orders to bail me out. I'm able to get some energy on Baby Roaring Moon and Greninja, but it's not enough to take a turn 1 KO. I end off a disappointing first turn with a devastating Pokestop, hitting 0 items. Angus is pretty happy about it though. He continues to set up a strong board, maintaining the Klefki Lock on me. Fortunately, a second Professor Sada's Vitality allows me to take the first prize on my second turn, but it's only on Klefki, a low value target. And then Angus is able to respond with a KO of his own, evening things up at 5-5. Letting Guardy catch up in prizes this early into the match is basically a death sentence. Ideally, you need to start with a 2 or even 3 prize lead to stand a chance in this matchup. And I was only able to get one meaningless KO before he set up. I'm able to hang on with a slim chance by immediately taking another 2 prizes by gusting up his Gardevoir EX, using Calamity Storm, which conveniently hits for weakness. But I still don't think this is going to be enough. I'll need to weave in another 2 prize turn if I want to win. Angus correctly chooses not to play down a second Gardevoir just yet, presenting me with a 1 prize board state and proceeds to take another KO. All I can do here is get rid of his active Screen Tail and go down to 2 prizes. At this point, his next turn will most likely consist of playing down Gardevoir EX, powering up another 1 prize attacker like Screen Tail, use Professor Turo's scenario to pick up Gardevoir, and then take a 2 prize KO while leaving me with only 1 prize targets to respond to, functionally locking up the game. But somehow he doesn't have it, instead leaving the Gardevoir EX in play and Ionoing me down to just a 2 card hand. I have one last chance. I need to see Boss's orders right now to win the game, to win the set, to make it into top cut. I draw my cards and see Town Store. I can grab Forest Sealstone and flip my V-Star to search out Boss's orders. I have a Lumineon V in play, so as long as it lives, I'll win the game. But what if he knocks it out with a combination of Screen Tail and Monkey Dory? Angus is clearly thinking through the decision himself. I have Pheasantipity in play and haven't used any Night Stretches, so taking the KO on Lumineon would allow me to see 3 more cards and have 2 additional outs to Boss's orders, since I can just use Night Stretch to retrieve Lumineon and search it out that way. He announces Roaring Scream for 160 damage onto my Lumineon, setting up for game on the next turn. But there won't be a next turn. I play down Town Store, show him the Forest Sealstone, throw Boss's orders onto the table, and shake his hand. I've made it into top cut and feel incredible. I've done it. From losing the very first round and being a single loss or tie away from elimination since round 3, I've managed to lock in and secure 7 back-to-back wins all the way to top cut. But there's something even sweeter. When the final standings come out, there are 11 players in cut. This means that the 8th seed plays the 9th seed, the 7th seed plays the 10th seed, and the 6th seed plays the 11th seed, while the top 5 seeds get a bye straight into top 8. I snuck in as the 5th seed, so no stressing over asymmetrical cut for me. This doesn't mean I have any time to rest though. My top 8 match was against the 4th seed, so we were ready to play as soon as I finished passing deck check with flying colors. Thanks, Dragon Shield. I'm up against Lucas. He was the highest placing Australian at our last regional event, and he's on the only deck that might be even spicier than mine. It's also got Radiant Greninja and Power Glass, but he's playing it with Sterilege. I should be extremely favored if I can go first, but going second will definitely be an uphill battle, and I lose the coin flip. When going second, I'm relying on taking the first prize with Baby Roaring Moon. If I don't do this and instead try for a straight 2-2-2 line, letting him take the first prize, it opens up the option for Briar on the final turn to steal an extra prize. I also need to hope that he can't respond by bossing up one of my bench 2 prize liabilities, since giving up the first 2 prizes means I basically lose the game on the spot. His initial setup is really strong, but I am able to take the first KO with Baby Roaring Moon, and he responds with Boss, already having enough energy in the discard to get rid of any of my 2 prize Pokemon. I play it out, hoping that a late game Iono can cause him to miss a beat, but he manages to find the last Ceruledge and Fire Energy, winning game 1. We've already been through this a few times before, my back's up against the wall, but I don't care, I'm gonna win this. Game 2 should be an easy one. If I can just find the Greninja combo, I'll definitely win. I go all in for it and just need to see a single Ball Search or Latias EX in the top 7 from Carmine and concealed cards. I do not see either of these things. I need to immediately pivot to my backup plan and try to set up for Boss's orders to KO one of his 2 prize Pokemon with Roaring Moon next turn. I piece it together, taking the lead and keeping up the pace from there. One more game, but going second, it's going to be tough. I have to bench Squawkabilly to even have a chance at a turn 1 attack. This is particularly bad since at only 160 HP, it is my squishiest 2 prize liability. If Lucas gusted up, he'll only need 7 energy in the discard to get the KO. But I have a secret weapon, one of those last minute changes that I made. I attach Bravery Charm to Squawkabilly EX. It doesn't seem like much, but it changes the maths so that he now needs an additional 2 energy in the discard to reach the bird's new 210 HP. His only option is to KO my active 1 prizer, evening things up at 5-5. But I have a really strong board, and all I need to do from here is chain attackers and I'll win the set. When I go down to 1 prize remaining, I already have 2 Roaring Moon EXs fully powered up. I know that he has 0 outs, just get to sit there smiling while he tries to piece anything together. I move on to top 4 of the tournament. This win actually means a lot to me personally. The first round of Top Cut has been a bit of a hurdle lately. Despite making it to the final 8 at 3 separate majors last year, I lost immediately immediately every single time. So breaking that curse and guaranteeing another medal is a massive confidence booster for me. But I know the job's not done yet. I came here to win and I am so close now. In the semi-finals, I have to play against Rahul Reddy, an extremely accomplished top player and a fellow YouTuber as well. He's playing Gardevoir, which I'm pretty happy about, but I'm a bit less happy about him winning the coin flip. Luckily, despite going first, he whiffs on Klefki. But my setup really isn't that great. I do manage to take a 2-prize lead, but he responds, evening things up at 4-4. I managed to find the boss's orders and remove his Gardevoir EX, but he's able to respond with yet another 2-prize turn. And now, with only 1-prize options to KO, all I can do is go down to a single prize. He easily evolves back into Gardevoir EX and wins the game. This is a perfect example of just how bad the matchup can be when they actually get into the game. Lose game 1, back against the wall, whatever, I'm unstoppable, I'm the main character, we all know I'm gonna win this. In game 2, it's my turn to go first, and after a bit of banter and a few jokes about him raw opening Klefki, he flips his card and it's not the keys. I'm safe. I pull off the Exodia combo without even using Forest Healstone, so as soon as he sees the top card of his deck isn't perfect, he scoops it up to go into game 3. Now I have to go second again, and when I draw my opening hand, there really isn't much going on. I've got Ultra Ball and Professor Sardas, but no energy in sight. Wait, I'm not gonna lose this, right? He manages to find Klefki and get it into the active. He does have to Ultra Ball for it, so he's down a lot of resources. But that doesn't matter when I'm essentially out of playable cards now. That Ultra Ball can't find anything useful. I'm staring at these 6 worthless cards in my hand, ready to just pass it back and accept the loss. It's incredibly reminiscent of the feeling I had in the very first round of this tournament. Hopelessness. Sometimes it's just up to the luck of the draw. And I draw a Dark Energy. We are so back. I Ultra Ball it away to grab Baby Roaring Moon and then use Professor Sarda's Vitality to accelerate that beautiful top decked energy. And I get to see 3 much better cards, including another energy to attach to Baby Roaring Moon. I'm not quite able to get off a turn 1 attack, but this is so much better than going draw pass. After tossing away so many resources going all in for that mischievous lock, Rahul is only able to set up a single Curlier. This might let me buy some more time before he gets into the game. I'm able to boss up that lone Curlier and KO it with Baby Roaring Moon. Suddenly, it looks like I'm in a really commanding position. He evolves another Curlier, but I'm not quite able to chain boss's orders, so I just have to settle for a 2-prize lead and getting rid of the active Klefki. But he is still suffering from that initial turn 1 play. Starved for resources, he isn't able to piece together an attack, instead using TM Evo to set up a couple more Curliers. I take another prize and continue to set up my board in an attempt to be resilient against Iono. Despite being up 3 prizes, this game could absolutely go either way. He hits me with an Iono and takes his own first 2 prizes. I don't have boss's orders right now to take 2 on the Gardevoir EX, so my best line is to just respond to his active Screamtail and play Pile Pad so that my deck has all 3 bosses in it. And if I don't find one of them on my next turn, I'll almost definitely lose this game since he can win with just 2 more attacks. He Ionos me down to 2 cards, gets back the Screamtail and sets up 190 damage on my Fezandipiti EX, intentionally not taking the KO, denying any additional draw. But my 2-card hand has a certain game-winning supporter in it, and I know that I've won. As soon as he announced his attack, I draw for turn, slam down the boss, shake his hand, and I am in the finals. What an absolute journey it's been, all the way from losing my very first round to the final match of the tournament. If you're still here, you're clearly enjoying the ride, so just go ahead and make sure that you are subscribed if you want the hero of our story to take down one last set. I'm going to be up against Gabe Smart on Miraidon, another one of the best players in America, and again, another YouTuber. But that means that I'm the last Australian standing. I've got to win this, not for myself, but for the entire country. It's going to be tough though. I've been lucky to only hit 1 so far, but Miraidon is not a great matchup. And the version that Gabe is playing with Prime Catcher is even worse. I've got very few lines that don't rely on him whiffing, and they all depend on me opening one of 4 decent starter Pokemon. The lack of Zapdos means that any of the ancient fellas will do. See, I need to set up an initial board state where there is no way for him to immediately take 2 prizes. Unlike the Secret Box build, which relies on Iron Bundle for that turn 1 gusting, Prime Catcher means that he can specifically target any of my Pokemon with that broken item-based gusting. Luckily, my last-minute addition of Bravery Charm can also act as a way to save some of my tankier 2-prize Pokemon like Latias, allowing it to safely sit on the bench. I discussed my strategy with some of the fellas and they agree this is the best approach and my only real chance at winning. It's time for the final final round. Gabe wins the coin flip, and clearly understanding the matchup, correctly chooses to go first. I open Radiant Greninja. This is one of the worst options, since even with a Bravery Charm attached, it'll still be in range of Amp You very much for 2 prizes. He's able to set up a strong board, loading up some energy onto Iron Hands and promoting the 1 prize Magneton, knowing full well that I don't play Iron Bundle and have no real way around it. It doesn't matter what I do, he's able to take the first 2 prizes. From here, we go back and forth, and it comes down to me Ionoing him to a 2-card hand. But all he needs to do is find Ball Search or Blood Moon Ursaluna EX. And with Pheasantipity already in play to flip the script for 3 additional cards, the odds of him whiffing are ridiculously low. He sees the Nest Ball, and that's game 1. But if you seriously think I'm about to lose here, you haven't been watching the video. I've lost so many game 1s in so many sets, and every time I've been able to bring it back. In game 2, I get to go first. I open with a Rotom, which is definitely not ideal, but I can work with this. If I can just get a Bravery Charm onto it to tank a hit, that'll be worth giving up the tool slot that would otherwise be a free card from Forest Sealstone. I fully search my deck at least 3 times. Bravery Charm is definitely prized, and now I've got no way to stop him from taking the first 2 prizes. Now I just need those electric generators to whiff. It's really my only way to win this game, but they have to, right? I'm gonna win the tournament. They don't, and once again, the game comes down to a combination of Iono and all of my hopes and dreams. He draws into Ursaluna, and that's the set. Honestly, this was a really anticlimactic finals. It was a pretty one-sided matchup that ended in a 2-0, a handshake, and a joke about me already having a gold medal, but not a silver one yet.
I already got one. Yeah. I don't have a silver. I don't have a silver. Hey, this is my first silver medal. I'm collecting them all.
I've still got 3 more events left this season though. Melbourne Regionals, the North American International Championships in New Orleans, and the big one, the World Championships in Anaheim. And I promise you, I will win at least one of these. I know that I can, and I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not doing it for the glory. I'm doing it for the content.